Hello there. I am Shaun McLaren, and this is Temur Energy in Standard. Welcome to an amazing video with me, Shaun McLaren, and this is Temur Energy in Standard. Okay, 2 intros for the price of 1, which is 0, which is a pretty good deal. So, Temur Aethorworks. So this is a Aethorworks Marvel deck. I've been working on energy for some time now, and I've finally upgraded to Aethorworks Marvel. This is partially inspired by Jabberwocky's red-green Marvel lists, and kind of fused with my Temur Energy more mid-range style lists. So this is half combo, half kind of mid-range. So the idea is to get up to 6 energy, activate Aethorworks Marvel, and hit Ulamog off of it. That's the dream scenario. Now you may already be wondering why I'm playing Ulamog over Emrakul. And there is one Emrakul in the sideboard, but I vastly prefer Ulamog in the main deck. Emrakul is actually not very good against a lot of decks and a lot of situations in this format, specifically against blue-white flash. Often you'll take their turn and just not be able to capitalize at all, especially if they immediately snare the Emrakul. You won't even be able to chump attack in one of their creatures. For example, Gideon is not a great planeswalker to steal their turn with, since it can't really kill itself except through embleming, which still gives them value, and it might not even have enough loyalty to emblem or more loyalty than 4, like 5, which would leave it alive. Whereas Ulamog can exile Stasis Snares, Gideons, Avacens, whatever, lands. It's also much better to hit Ulamog in the early game and take out your opponent's lands rather than Emrakul, especially if they're able to answer it with, say, Ruinous Path. Ulamog is actually fairly difficult for most decks to deal with. Like, Green-Black has trouble dealing with it, and I like the exile effect better than Emrakul's Steal a Turn effect. Now, the big downside to Ulamog is it's harder to cast than Emrakul. It's harder to hard cast than Emrakul. This deck is actually pretty good at hard casting Emrakul. But Ulamog is fairly reasonable to cast with Chandra or Spawning Bed, which is why Spawning Bed is in the deck. Spawning Bed ramps from 7 mana up to 10 mana for Ulamog, first of all. So hard casting Ulamog is fairly easy when Spawning Bed is involved. And it also generates a lot of energy with Aethorworks Marvel, which is the hidden benefit of Spawning Bed. You can activate the land, which gives you an energy, sacrificing Spawning Bed, and then sacrifice the Scions, which creates 4 energy in total from a land, which is a pretty good deal, if you ask me. Of course, it is a 3-color mana base, so we don't want to go overboard on Spawning Beds, and we are careful to make up our sources by running lots of Evolving Wilds and Cinderglades. So some of the hands can be awkward with tapped lands, but generally the mana works pretty well. Vessel of Nascency is great for enabling Delirium with Ishkana, finding Aethorworks Marvel, finding Woodweaver's Puzzle Knot, finding whatever you need, really, or fixing your lands in the early game. Attune is great fixing and provides energy for Aethorworks Marvel. Harnessed Lightning, the nut removal. Tormenting Voice is perfect for discarding Ulamog if you draw it in the early game. Servant is great ramp into turn 3 Chandras or Aethorworks Marvels and generates energy. One Tireless Tracker is kind of just randomly, it's good to fit into your curve, and Clues are good for generating energy with Aethorworks Marvel. Just a random value card in the list. it's usually better post-board, but works pre-board as well. And of course, Ishkana is great against blue-white and buys lots of time and generates lots of energy. It's basically 4 energy worth of spiders, delicious spiders for Aetherworks Marvel. Chandra is good removal. Can draw cards, just a solid card, and it also helps provide delirium for Ishkana and ramp up to Ulamogs or Emrakuls. And finally, Whirler Virtuoso. Now, Whirler Virtuoso is obviously the main reason we're in blue here. Instead of running like 4 Woodweaver's Puzzle Knots, we're running Whirler Virtuosos. Now, they generate a similar amount of energy when you first cast them. Of course, Woodweaver's Puzzle Knot generates up to 6 or 7 if you have Aetherworks Marvel out, whereas Whirler Virtuoso is going to generate 3 or 4 if it dies. But the ability to make Thopters and a 2/3 body is just going to make your fair games go a lot more smooth, which is what we're trying to do with this deck. We're first of all trying to win the games we draw Aetherworks Marvel, but we're also trying to win some of the games that we don't immediately draw Aetherworks Marvel. And I think the deck does a good job of balancing its powerful starts with its mediocre starts, where we don't draw Aetherworks Marvel. Since Whirler Virtuoso is actually just a very powerful card to sink your energy into when you don't see Aetherworks Marvel. You can sometimes generate 3, 4, 5 Thopter tokens very easily in the late game if you haven't had another energy sink, and that's a great card. Like Woodweaver's Puzzle Knot instead reads 2 mana, gain 3 life, make a Thopter, and then sacrifice it for another 3 life and another Thopter when Whirler Virtuoso's involved, which isn't a terrible deal. As for the sideboard, we have negates for control, ceremonious rejections for the mirror other Aetherworks Marvel decks, which gives us a huge edge in any sort of mirror situation. If they're just playing straight red-green, we're going to have an edge because we have the counters and can disrupt Marvels, which is what that match is all about. Root Out, natural state, for dealing with smugglers, copters, vehicles of any kind, stasis snares. Root Out is, of course, for the clue. That's why you run it over Appetite for the unnatural, even though it's a sorcery. Clues are good with Aetherworks Marvel, and clues draw cards. Next we have our flying removal in Plummet, Clipwings, Tears of the Valakut. You may think I'm just being cute running one of each, but there's actually a reason for it. Clipwings is for the black-green Delirium matchup. It's good against Mind Rack Demon or an Emrakul, so we want 1 to bring in against them. Plummet is just solid against, say, Bruna, or if your opponent has double emblems and they cast Avacyn. And Tears of the Valakut can get around negates from your opponent. So it's actually nice to have, it's better to draw a Plummet and a Tears of Valakut, usually, rather than one of each. As for removal, we have Radiant Flames and Kozilek's Return. I'm not actually sure which of these is better, so I just, again, split them. Kozilek's Return is better if you're bringing back casting Eldrazi's off of Aetherworks Marvel, but Radiant Flames is capable of killing like a Dapala or what have you, and we can abuse its 3 colors. Tireless Trackers are just for value. If you're on the play and don't think you're going to be winning through Marvel, you can win through Tireless Tracker. Emrakul is partially to negate the effect of Lost Legacy naming Ulamog, and also in creature matchups where Emrakul is a little bit better than Ulamog. Any sort of matchups where taking their turn is good and you can really mess up their turns. And just to have a Eldrazi you can hardcast. As you can see, I like splitting up my options rather than just going all in on one. Because, I mean, if you draw both, and you would instead of drawing two Ulamogs, you draw an Emrakul and an Ulamog, and you can hard cast the Emrakul but not the Ulamog. That gives you value. Or if you activate Aetherworks Marvel and see Ulamog and Emrakul on the top of your library, that also gives you a decision that you wouldn't otherwise have, which is pretty good. And then finally we have the Root Out of Counter Spells, Confirm Suspicions, which is more kind of a fun card, but also pretty good if against control. This is kind of our control card. We just want to confirm suspicions of Torrential Gearhulk and get them real good. And then it kind of generates enough value to beat the control matchup by itself with all the clues and being able to hard counter an important spell. So yeah, I actually played this list in the mocks, so I'll be going through the mocks qualifier, so I'll be going through some matches of that, so stay tuned and you'll find out how I did.